men's race, this is the most open race of the whole championship for men. Who's going to take it? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. Let's stay tuned to find out.
And just to inform you that the reigning Olympic champion, the Norwegian Simen Hegstad Krüger, he's canned from the Norwegian team. They didn't find place for him.
That's what makes this Norwegian team just so impossible to break into. You're the Olympic champion from 12 months ago. Great, congratulations. Hope you can use that as a cup holder, or sorry, a coaster, because we got better guys than you, or at least they believe that for today. We'll soon find out, but it is just so hard to crack this Norwegian team. It's so strong, as we've seen already.
And you also have the reigning world champion, Sergei Ustiugov, to the start. He was massive in Lahti 2 years ago. How about his form now?
Oh, you know Ustiugov's ready. You saw him in the sprint prologue. Oh, he was flying. And then, of course, a little bit of a tussle there with the sprint champion, Johannes Klæbo. So, you know, he's a little angry. He's got that little fire inside, and I expect him to be a tough man to beat today, absolutely.
All right, 2 years ago in Lahti, it all turned out to be a two-horse race.
It's expected to be between Russia and Norway today, and that is just the way it was in Lahti in 2017. Sundby going up the final climb, breaking a pole at the critical moment, having battled with Ustiugov for the last 15 Ks, and suddenly it was all over. The gold medal handed to Ustiugov on a plate, and Sundby's wait for an individual major championship gold would have to go on. Ustiugov, disappointed not to have taken the gold in the sprint, knew he had this one in the bag as he went down the back straight. Nothing Sundby could do about it. He tried to sprint, but that is not his forte. This time, a broken pole costing him a shot at the gold medal. Would he have got it? We don't know, but it would have been a whole lot closer than it was. In the end, Ustiugov coming through 109.16, 6.7 seconds clear of Martin Jonsrud Sundby of Norway. What a battle.
Well, that was Lahti 2 years ago. Now we're in Seefeld in 2019. 15K classic, 15K skate, and this is the course.
The men's 30K course is the same as the women, only twice as long. We're talking 30 kilometers of leg-destroying, lung-busting work. The classic side, the red, of course, is so difficult. Lots of hills, favors athletes like Bolshunov or Niskanen, and as we come screaming into the stadium, they will change their equipment and head out onto the skate. Here we are, first little uphill of the skate course. The men will have done 4 laps of the 3.75 in classic, changed their skis, and now head out for 4 laps of skating. This is the first hill. None of the hills on this skate side are all that difficult. The terrain, funny enough, is fairly light in skating. What does that mean for the men's race? I think it means we'll see some action. There'll be a lot of skiers in close quarters. I'm not totally sure how many, but I would guess 4 or 5 at least. And then on the last lap, things will start to get a little tactical. People will try and attack early, of course, but like we saw in the men's sprint, I think it's gonna come down to a battle royale on that last little part of the sprint course, right at the top of the hill. If we see a lot of athletes up there, there's only 2 ways to win this. One, like Daria Colonia did last year, hit the bottom of the sprint hill and give it everything you have. Or 2, like we saw Klæbo, Pellegrino, and the boys do in the sprint, get to the top of the hill, look at each other, and no one wants to lead down the hill because it's a fast and furious finish, and the first distance gold medal of these world championships in cross-country skiing is up for grabs. As this blue course continues, it goes through this rolling terrain, not steep and severe like the classic side. The real crux of this course is what we're coming up to now, that roundabout there on the sprint course that we saw so much action, and then into the finish.
That was the course, Devin. One thing is to do a sprint after going 1 kilometer. They have gone 29 the last time they go up that hill.
Yeah.
How would that be on the top there?
Well, we saw Ingvald Flusad Østberg's legs at the top. They were pretty stiff. So was Neprjeva, so was Astrid Jakobsen. Your legs are going to feel like 2 big giant blocks of concrete after 29.4 kilometers when you get to that part of the hill. So it is a real crux. I said that in the course profile, and I mean it. That hill bites, and especially after you've done so many kilometers before then.
But during the sprint, you saw what you call the driving Miss Daisy tempo uphill there, and then they stopped on the top. Would you have an attacking on the hill there?
You know, it's really hard to know. If it's a huge group like we saw last year, it was a 15K mass start, mind you, last year in Seefeld. But if we see a big group hit that last sprint hill all together, there will be one. Dario Colonia was the one to do it last year, and I expect no matter if it was a group of around 10, there will be one guy that tries from the bottom, go all out, go push all the chips into the middle of the table and just hope it holds. But at the end of the story, or sorry, at the other side of the coin, I mean, is if it's a group of 5, all of which have a strong sprint, like Alex Harvey, Johannes Klebo, there will be stopping at the top of that hill. They will be looking at each other. They saw the sprint. They know the deal. Yeah. They've seen the movie, and no one will want to lead down that hill again, Karsten.
But it's one thing that adds an extra dimension to it, because I don't think Ustjugov and Klebo is going to buy each other presents this Christmas in 2019, because look at this happened on the sprint. Of course, they face each other today. It could well be a sprint between these two for the gold.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we could see it's tight quarters for the men's race. This is a really easy skate side compared to the classic. But at the end of the day, these guys are running hot. You have Klebo, Ustjugov, the two big boys of men's cross-country skiing, and they're going to meet out there. And if it does turn out to be a big pack like I expect it to be, those two names should be in there, and then there'll be no love lost. And like you said, the Christmas presents might have to wait a couple years.
So 2021 then?
Yeah, at best.
Have you seen Klebo in action? He's always doing his big headset on, listening to some good music.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's an extra flavor to the duel today between the Russian and Norwegian. Here you see Sergei Ustjugov, but the Norwegian coach, Erik Minosum, hopes the rivalry don't take away all the focus.
It's important to not use energy on this type of things, because we need that energy to go fast. So, but during the race, everybody has their nerves outside of the body. So, I think these things happen because there's a gold medal hanging there in the finish line. So everybody wants to be first, and it's good for the sports that there are a bit tension, but hopefully we can manage without punching each other.
Yeah, we will be right back from Seefeld. We will look at the 5 big names: 2 Norwegians, 2 Russians, and of course, a Swiss. Hope to see you soon. Welcome back to beautiful Seefeld. We are only 16 minutes away from the start of the 30K skiathlon, and there has been a lot of successful racers in the World Championships, and there's one who has been more successful than others.
And that man is, of course, Petter Northug. It didn't matter whether it was a sprint or 50 kilometers, he could win. In his career, he notched up 13 gold medals between 2007 and 15. Beyond Dali, he got 9 golds. And going back another few decades, Sixten Jernberg of Sweden, an astonishing 8 golds. But Dali with 17 in total, Northug 16.
That was King of the North, Petter Northug. This is Queen of the South, Therese Johaug. You're the world champion. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How has this been?
It has been amazing. I cannot believe it that I passed the finish line first today. It has been a dream for me for 2 years now, and I'm not doing a championship since Falun. It's 4 years ago, so I'm really looking forward for this day, and it's a dream that become true.
You know, Devon is a hard nail, but when you stand on the top of the podium with all the emotions, even I'd have to give you a tissue, because that was really emotional for you.
Yeah, it was like, I'm working so hard for it for so many years, and all these things that's happened the last 2 years, it's been tough, but I have focused on myself and to do a best training job as I could. So it is amazing to just to be here in Seefeld and to have the race beep on again and the race, and then you pass the finish line for us. It's I cannot believe it.
And how important is it, Teresa, for the team behind the team Niels Jakob, Paul Gunnar, and then the whole Norwegian waxing crew, everybody. There's just so much emotions from a day like today.
Yeah, it is like, you know, my boyfriend Niels Jakob and Paul Gunnar and my brother Karsten has working so much together for this, for me, and for that I should reach my goal. So I have to say hey to everybody that helping me. It's without them I cannot do that.
And one last question for you here, Teresa. When I skied this classic course, all I could think of was Teresa Johaug. And when you came around after one lap and then hit those hills again, you must have been smiling in the inside. It must have been so fun to ski away from the best skiers in the world.
Yeah, it was. And I know that from the stadium to the top, it's just uphill. So I know that, oh, I have a bit gap before we start. And then I have to just push myself and do what I could. So, and I heard that my trainer say that I get bigger and bigger gaps. So I'm really happy now.
Congratulations, Teresa, with your
Yeah.
first gold.
Congrats, Teresa.
Hopefully of many if you are from Norway. Okay, that was the women's skiathlon.
Yeah.
Let's look at the favorites for the men's, because you had one huge favorite in the women's side. This is so open.
Oh, this is
so open.
Oh, exactly. And you really had to twist my arm to pick 5 names here. This was really tough. You have Martin Jonsrud Sundby. He has been on the podium so many times. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, if you want to use that. You have Emil Iversen, Alexander Bolshunov, second in the overall World Cup, Dario Colonia, and Sergei Ustiugov. Of course, there's names missing. I'm sure people at home are like, where's Johannes Klebo? I haven't seen him in a 30K be so strong yet this year, so I left them off. Where's Alex Harvey? Same thing, only 2 distance top 10s, but he is coming into form, and he is a big championship player, so there's a lot of names, like I said, most open race of this championship.
And the fume Ustiugov showed on the sprint when he got knocked out in the semifinals, that aggression has to come to life today.
Oh, exactly. For sure. He's got 30K, so he better not use all that aggression early, because you still have to use some of that energy later on in the race. But Sergei Ustiugov showed us in the sprint that he is in great, great shape. The skate side of this course plays into his strengths so much. It is fairly easy terrain. He's a big skier. He's a big power skier. And if he's there in the skate with 5K to go, he's going to be dangerous.
But the last time he won the championship in 2017, he tormented the field. Only one who can follow him was Jonsrud Sundby. Will the Russians do the same today?
Oh, it's hard to know. I would expect that Ivo Niskanen and Alexander Bolshunov will just try and hit it hard in the classic part. It's the harder course. Both those guys we saw in Konya, 1-2, only a week ago. So they're so much better in classic than they are in skating, and I expect they're going to try and use their strength in the classic side. But at the end of the day, I think the men, it's too even between all the men, and it's going to be a pretty big pack coming in for the win.
And we have Dario Colonia. He won here last year during the World Cup in an impressive way.
Oh, he did such an impressive way. He knew that his only chance to win this thing was to hit the hill and hit it with everything he got. And you look at him, increase the pace. Alex, he can't respond. And Dario he's trying. Alex is trying to respond, but the gap keeps growing. And if you want to win in this tactic, you've got to hit it at the bottom of the hill like Dario did. If he would have waited even halfway up this hill, they would have caught him on the slipstream. I believe that. But here, he just an absolute machine. Dario just hop skating this hill like it's nothing. He's not getting tired. It's unbelievable. And look at Alex getting stiff, and that gap there, that what results in this. Crossing the finish line alone, a small gap, can put the arms in the air and win, but that is a really, really tough way to win. If you want to win on the hill like that, you've got to go deep from the bottom.
And that was 1 year ago. But let's go 2 years back to 2017 in Lahti when Sergei Ustiugov, he actually was in a league of his own. When he turned up the heat in Finland, only one man could follow, well, at least for a while. It's time for Devon's trip to the Magic Room.
Elvis might have been the king, but in 2017, Ustiugov was the king of the World Championships in Lahti, and this is the key moment of the skiathlon. It comes about 10 kilometers from the finish. You see here Ustiugov looking under his shoulder, doing his best Lance Armstrong circa 2001 at Alpe d'Huez, and sees everyone is struggling. They're on the struggle bus. He doesn't hammer them with one big crazy move. It's still got 10K to go, but he's winding it up ever so slightly. He's stretching that elastic. Sundby's able to go with him, but you can see Heikkinen and Finn Hagen-Kroh back there really struggling. Alex looks great, but he's been caught out of position and the move is gone. Down into the stadium, about 1.5 kilometers later, you see the gap is now stretched from a few seconds to 6.2 seconds. You can't see it, but Heikkinen's gone. that moment that he decided to really take it into his own hands, he's decided to really go from the finish line. The gap is now increased. I mean, we're talking, it is 8.6 seconds here at the lap. There is 2 laps to go. You have 7.5K, and the boys are still strung out. They're completely in a long line, not bunched together. Everybody's at their absolute limit. It's unbelievable to see. The one thing is the most unbelievable is Heikkinen, that was in the pole position, has completely gone rigor mortis. You see his legs, they're completely stiff. He's laboring hard, and it's going to be a long last 7.5K.
You don't want rigor mortis on a 30K.
Not early, not with 7.5K to go, that's for sure. You
right.
can wait till you're lying in your bed after the race is long over.
Right. I'm so curious what kind of tactics Sergei Styugov and the Russians have today. Maybe we'll find out now, because our reporter Gunni is standing together with coach Marcus Kramer.
So this is the van for the Russian ski team. And inside of there are the skis of Bolshinov and Styugov. Guys, we are excited to see today. And over here is Marcus Kramer, the coach. And we are going to have a few words with him. Oh, how's the feeling ahead of the skiathlon today, Marcus?
Yeah, I hope all will be okay. So the athletes are very motivated, and we know that most of them are in a good shape, and so I hope it will be an interesting race today.
What are you aiming for? What's the ambition?
Yeah, we hope that we can fight for a podium. So we have 5 men today on the start, and I think all of these 5, it's possible to fight for the best for the podium. We hope, but yeah, I hope especially for Styugov that he can do something, because he looks very strong, and so we will see what happens.
And so much tension between him and Johannes Esbrot-Klæbo in the sprint. Do you think we'll see that today?
No. It's you know, it's the sprint is a special competition, and in the sprint it can happen so much, and so because it's very high speed and fight six men together, and it can happen so much, and yeah, and then okay, what happened in the finish? It was not good. But for me, once again, what happened on the track, it was a mistake from Klæbo and not from Styugov. So, but it's my opinion.
Well, the Norwegian can this far celebrate 3 out of 3 cross-country goals. Will there be a 4th? Well, we'll be right back from Seefeld.
Welcome back to Seefeld, just in time to see the athletes approaching the starting grid for the men's skiathlon. Now, this is a 30-kilometer race, 15K in the classic and 15 in the freestyle. There is the man who's already got 1 gold medal around his neck. The hair is perfectly positioned for another assault on the podium. But this is going to be a whole lot harder for Klæbo than we saw in the sprint.
I think it will be, but walking around, doesn't he look like the king? I know the king of Sweden's here, but Klæbo in his mind is, I think today he'll believe he's unbeatable, but I'm not so sure.
Well, you know, a lot of people saying, why was he selected for this race when he was 20th in the Norwegian Championships? Iversen, of course, winning that race. But my feeling, Mike, is that if it turns into a tactical race and the first half is slow, then you want Klæbo in there for that second phase, because there's no one better at winning a sprint finish than him.
I'm totally with you on that, but I cannot see, with the names in this field, Shurota one of them, that the pace is going to be anything but dynamite from the gun. And that is, they've learned how to get rid of Petter Northug. It took many years for that to happen, but they're going to try and kill the sprinters. And Sundby, that'll be his mission, to take this pace, to live with the pace. He really wants that gold that he didn't get in Lahti through breaking his pole with, what, just 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, Sundby on the podium in his last 10 skiathlons, whatever level. Can he make it 11 today? Ivan Niskanen, brilliant classic skier. He's okay at skating, but he knows his chance is to break clear in the first half. For him, it's unfortunate that this race is never run the other way round. Bolshinov's in the same sort of boat. He is better at classic, needs to make some sort of a move in the first half, but at the risk of blowing up in the second phase. There is the angry man, Mr. Styugov. What can he do today? The defending champion. Well, the women's race was not the most exciting one we've seen, but it was fascinating watching it unravel and watching Johaug destroy the field. Is anyone willing? Is anyone good enough to do the same in the men's field? We're underway, the fourth of the cross-country races in the World Championship program. 74 athletes out on the start list. I think we're going to see a few of them being lapped because they've got 4 classic loops, 4 freestyle loops, and we might even see some being lapped before the end of the classic phase.
We may well do. 74 athletes, Patrick, in the race. One that hasn't been mentioned for me is I really feel good about Muzzy today. 4 years ago he was 12th, but 1:30 behind. 2 years ago he was 11th. 57 seconds behind. At the Olympics he was 7th and only 25 seconds behind. If he improves again today by that same proportion, he could well win this race, but I do believe he's going to be a serious competitor.
Well, we haven't had a shot of him yet, but I'll hazard a guess that he's wearing a big white headband. He's wearing bib number 12, so he had a very good start. And Muzzy is not the same as Niskanen, and he's not the same as Bolshunov. He needs to stay with the classic, get through this first phase as economically as possible, because the freestyle is where he's strong.
I watched him, Patrick, in the Norwegian Championships. You mentioned it, and another little topic there. Kruger came 4th at the Norwegian Championships, 1.4 seconds behind the lead time. I am fascinated that they haven't put Kruger in today. They put Klæbo in instead when Klæbo was 20th.
Well,
Muzzy fell, with 4 Ks to go. He was absolutely at the front. He pulled it back to, I think, 10th place, only 30 seconds behind.
Musgrave leading the Olympic skiathlon with 3 kilometers to go. He made a bid for home. It didn't work, but he was bold enough to try. Klæbo, Røthe, Sundby, Iversen, the Norwegian quartet. They've left out Tunseth, Kruger, Holland and Krogh. Now, winding our clocks back 12 months, Mike, to Pyeongchang. Niskanen went it alone in the classic. We're expecting to see the same again. Here he is. He's out front. He knows this is his chance. The big difference today is there isn't any wind, and that really proved to be his undoing in Pyeongchang.
A massive factor. You can't take a headwind of 30 kilometers an hour when you're traveling at 15, 20 kilometers an hour into that headwind. And I think this is significant with Sundby not allowing anything to break away today, and I think he'll guard it like a terrier, like a Rottweiler.
So Niskanen is nothing if he's not bold. It's great to see. Look good in Konya in the 15-kilometer classic there, Mike. Well beaten by Bolshunov, who we'll see at some stage. Bolshunov wearing bib number 2. There he is, round, is that 4th or 5th position? I think he's sitting in 4th at the moment. This is worrying news for Musgrave, Mike, because he's gonna have to fight so hard to stay with this pace.
He is, and Niskanen was always going to take this out strong. I thought Polterainen will soon come up, I'm quite sure. But this is a vicious pace, and it really will take a lot of the sting from the legs of anyone trying to live with it.
Has he forgotten he's got to do 4 of these laps?
Well, anyone that does the sport and puts in a 3-minute interval, that's what it feels like at the top of this ride, all uphill.
There is Musgrave wearing bib number 12, outside the top 10 positions at the moment, but he'll just have to hope that things settle at the front. Niskanen is prepared to punish himself. He may not get away on this first lap, but his best chance might come later. Now, fancy being in a team that can leave out the Olympic champion. They can leave out a man who took the bronze medal in Lahti 2 years ago, Finnhagen Krogh. They've left out Holland, who got the bronze medal in the Olympics, and they've left out Tunseth, all of whom are capable of getting a top 3.
Well, I remember Tunseth in the little mini tour, Lillehammer, just before Christmas. He was phenomenal. I think he was 2nd overall.
And the Russians, of course, having the world champion, the defending champion, Ustyugov. They have 5 entered today. Bolshunov, Melnichenko, we've got Belov, Spitsov, and Ustyugov, of course. Which one of those 5 is going to be...
well, there's such big names, and as Devin alluded, it's very difficult to pick. I feel good today about Melnichenko and also Spitsov. He has shown that he can turn the pace up. He's very lightweight when it comes to the 15-kilometer freestyle later. And it's not the toughest, of course. In fact, it's the easiest course from any majors over the last 7-8 years.
I've just seen someone take a tumble down the bottom of that hill. It's not because it's a technical track. I think it's to do with the clister gripping some of the snow. One of the complaints after the qualification race, Mike, was that the skis were picking up an awful lot of dirt when they had clister on, and they were getting slower and slower and slower.
Yes, I know, and that was mentioned at the team captains meeting. I know that, we know that. I can't think what they can do about it, but when you cultivate the snow, it does bring up the leaves from earlier on in the season. It's a very difficult one to control. Maybe putting Sira F, as I know a lot of the a real repellent to any friction, to any humidity build-up. Maybe that's the solution. I thought we're going to see some followers on this corner. We might later.
Yeah. It looks as though was that Musgrave just going a little bit wide. They'll find the right line eventually. I think you want to be as tight to the inside as possible, but that is going to get softer and softer. And a couple of the coaches saying early this morning they didn't quite understand why they pressed the tracks early morning rather than late last night and then allow them to freeze, because it meant that they were much, much softer.
I was surprised, very surprised. The rain yesterday we had, then they did press the tracks last night. I thought they would have left it with the very icy tracks rather than recultivating it.
Now, do you feel that softer tracks makes it harder? Certainly in the skating it is, and that means that those with the bigger aerobic capacity are likely to get further ahead.
I think you're right. Sunbi, Bolshinov, the real fighters, those who can push through anything, the bulldogs, you feel they may suit them, and it is going to be very wet and slushy here today.
Jean-Marc Gaillard on the left of the screen. It was actually him going through that last corner with difficulty. 32, having a good start from Andorra. That's Irinu Esteve Altimiras. And just trying to spot him now. He's dropped back a little bit, but still within 15 seconds or so of the leader. The gold bib belongs to the defending champion, and Ustiugov back in around 15th, 16th place at the moment. No panic from him. Musgrave sitting in 6th. He wants to run this one very, very tactically. Basically get through this first 15k without expending any energy. And impossible to do.
It's very, very difficult to do. And that's what he did actually at the Norwegian Championships. He was very clever, remained in 5th position, which was at the front for most of the race until a really bad fall. And I was so impressed he got up from that fall, lost all of his pace, and still finished 31 seconds behind.
So Niskanen doing all the leading in the early stages. Are we going to see a similar scenario to the women? Johaug pushed hard on the first climb, got a little bit of a gap, but was only 2 seconds clear coming through the stadium. It was the second time up the big climb that made all the difference. These guys have got to do it 4 times, so Niskanen may just wait. He'll keep the pressure on, but he may be saving something for a burst later on.
Delighted to see Andrew Musgrave's skis running well. Let's be honest, there's not a lot of difference in this lead pack in terms of glide, and of course some were slipstreaming.
But it's closed up a lot since the top of the hill, Mike, and I'm just wondering whether that's the fact that some of the water on the track has been squeezed out by the front runners and allowed the others to ski on slightly more glazed tracks.
Totally, it's a big factor, Patrick. Sun on this track for 9 minutes, it becomes wetter. First athlete skiing over it, as you say, compresses that humidity, and it's a little faster behind. So I really wouldn't want to be leading right now, very early on in the race.
In terms of base preparation, you just want a big fat comb really to put some deep rills into the skis.
Wick the water away, the friction away, of course, today. It's that's not been an easy first lap of 3:75 at all. 8:73. Try and get the times for each of these rotations if we can. 8:53.
20 athletes within 3 seconds. Alex Harvey halfway back in that leading group, the Canadian on his last season. It would be fantastic to see him come through and challenge for a top 3 today, but it's Bolshinov who leads after the first of 8 laps.
Second time out and up the climb, the long climb. Niskanen, it's Bolshinov really at the front now, and as well, Sumbi. So it's all changed at the front. Bolshinov, Sumbi, Niskanen deciding it's not the best place to be. He led it once, he won't want to do that the second time.
Yeah, there's not much coordination between the teams. Norway and Russia with very, very similar suits. If you see it from a distance, it's pretty difficult to pick it out. That's a Norwegian suit in front, obviously, with Sundby, Bolsjunov just behind him. Now, Mike, you know, for us it's frustrating because we have to wait until we see the bib number to know exactly who it is. But for the coaches who are trying to provide the drinks, a bright yellow or a luminous green suit would be so much easier to ID your athletes.
Totally. Well, with only, 31 nations, you could maybe find 31 different options of colour to sprinkle around. But yeah, I mean, it's like running. You can always tell an athlete's style. Yeah, you can pick them out, but it can be difficult sometimes in the tuck position. It's all red at the front. And interesting, that top four, there's 3 Norwegians, 1 Russian. I expected to see more control from the Russian red suits at the front. We might do next lap around.
Musgrave sitting back in, what, 5th position at the moment. Looking reasonably comfortable, but just a couple of times, Mike, a gap of 2 or 3 meters opened up between himself and the man in front, and he's had to work particularly hard just to close it. So I wouldn't say he's relaxed there in 5th. He knows he's got to, if he wants to get on the podium, he's got to stay with it. He doesn't have a choice. Whereas there are athletes that can drop right back and make their move later on.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And remember last year at the Olympics, Kruger with Larkov and Spitzov, they all went down in a big tangle, a big pile. Kruger broke both poles, but maybe just one, but he was at the back by a long, long way. And even at half distance, he was still 16 seconds detached. He'd made it almost back in contact, and then he went on to win that race. So, you know, you can be economical further back and you still can come through to win, as Kruger showed us.
Jens Berman of Sweden is still in there. Lapierre of France, only 21 seconds down. The gap's considerably bigger than they were the first time up this climb. So the work at the front being done by Sundby at the moment is certainly starting to hurt some of the slower skiers. Interesting place to take a drink halfway up a climb. Most of the athletes being fed just as they come down into the stadium or just as they leave the stadium. You want, what, 50 meters of gradual downhill just to get the fluid down and into your gut rather than, you know, sitting in your mouth while you've got to go into max overdrive.
Exactly, and drinks being offered there at the top of that rise. When you're breathing out your ears, you're sucking in a lot of air at the top of this climb. I'm surprised it's been an option of a drink stop. Klæbo just trying to find where he is right now.
So Musgrave into 2nd position on the shoulder of Bolsjunov, who was in a class of his own in the Classic in Konya last week. The pace slowing a little. Now Musgrave does not really want to take the lead. He's been out of the tracks for a while. What's the thinking there?
Is he trying to get the icier part further in towards the edge? It certainly will be faster when it's shaded. Some of these tracks wider to the right as we look up in the sun. That might be his thinking.
And what's the ice very good at doing to Klister?
Ripping it off.
Exactly. Be a bit worried if it came to laps 3 and 4, because of course there's a lot of climbing still to go down the deep. Oh, this is a tricky corner. The key there is just sort of little step turns, Mike, but you have to lift your foot, 4-5 inches higher than you normally would, and you've got to make sure you've got control of the tip of the ski, otherwise you are going one way, and that is down.
Definitely, and I think we'll see more of that. It was becoming so rutted, so deep, so soggy there on that bend, and it will only get worse. Klæbo 13 seconds behind, so he's not interested yet in living with this pace, and it's a brutal pace at the front. Just thinking, Patrick, if your name was Sundby and you're a 34-year-old and this is a World Championships, you'll do the maths, 2 years till Oberstdorf, I'll be 36-year-old. I think Sundby wants this one today, but he has to break them. He has to be bold and break them early. Well done, Muzzy at the front.
I've sort of felt for 5-6 years now that Sundby's only chance of winning a major is a time trial. Too many people can feed off his strength on the open field and then just destroy him in the last kilometre with a superior sprint. But this year in Classic, I think he knows he's not a match for Niskanen, and he's not likely to be a match for Bolshunov. So this perhaps his best chance.
Do you know, that's you were almost going to convince me that it was time trial, but of course you've got Bolshunov, Niskanen on top form. Andrew Musgrave, riding on the side there, whereas a little faster.
Well, that's an interesting tactic, but he still wants to keep things under control.
Drinks. Bolshunov took a drink on down in the stadium. This is only, what, 4.5, 5 minutes later, so the heat today is going to be a factor. They reckon, the experts reckon, you need to take 200 mils on every 4 kilometers. It's a lot of fluid over a, what, an hour, 1 hour, 10-minute race today, I would expect.
Certainly in this heat, a little bit of extra fluid, not a bad idea. The leading group looks to be around 30 at the moment. We'll obviously get an accurate readout as they come down into the stadium.
Such a long descent this. We very rarely see such a long descent, and almost 60 kilometers an hour, 57, 56, and 58, so it'll probably touch 60. So what do we read there? French skis are good on the descent. That's Jean-Marc Gaillard. Blimey, they are taking the drinks on today, and the last thing you want in this race is to become dehydrated later. The performance drops sharply when you become dehydrated.
Niskanen quite happy to sit in the pack on that second climb. Is this going to be the lap where he decides it's time to move again? He may well do. Ustiugov, Mike, has been noticeable in his absence as far as the leaders go. Just not interested. He's sat in around 15th, 16th position all day long, and he may stay there until the freestyle. There he is.
He's doing a Northug, isn't he? Northug was always happily between 8th and 20th, never ever wanting to take any lead work on until the last couple of 100 meters.
Quite right too. So through 7.5, they are halfway through the classic stage. Jean-Marc Gaillard leading on a decent pair of skis. Sundby still there in the top 10. Harvey is looking okay. Klæbo of Norway still only 2.5 seconds behind. Spitzoff, he's a danger man, sitting up in that leading group as well. And then 15 seconds separating the top 35 athletes. It's got a long way to go. Welcome back to Seefeld. They have completed the second lap here in the men's skiathlon. There's a little bit of a gap between 25 and 26, that leading group of 25. One or two big moves at the end of that second lap, Mike. I think people realizing that the race was starting to take shape, and you certainly didn't want to miss out on this leading pack.
Yes, I think Klæbo thought the boat was beginning to sail away from him. He was 16 seconds down, and he very, very quickly pulled that back to what? He's 2 seconds behind at last point of checking. So Klæbo decided that it may well go early this race today. And I think it has. Normally we'd see about 35 at 20 minutes of racing, but it's stretched out. It's a painful pace at the moment.
Third time up this relentless climb, and it's Sundby who for the second time decides he is the man who's going to set the pace. Looking comfortable behind him, wearing 10, is Jean-Marc Gaillard of France, and on his right is Emil Iversen, who gets into the team instead of the Olympic champion and instead of both the world and the Olympic bronze medalists Krogh and Holland. It's a big responsibility on Iversen's shoulders, especially, Mike, as he got through to the final of the sprint 2 days ago.
He did indeed. I'm loving Muzzy's tactics here, Patrick. Yes, there's ice on the side. So much faster a section of snow which hasn't been skied on. Is he the only clever one out there?
Well, maybe that clister we were talking about is already gone, and he doesn't have an option but to double pole. Skating is all about double poling power as well, so I would be a bit concerned come the latter stages of the race. But great to see him in the game, keeping an eye. He's so aware of what's going on around him.
And looks just very, very composed. Traditionally in the past, Muzzy, he's liked his least favoured of the two disciplines is the classic skiing. But he looked good at the Norwegian champs. I thought he looked great.
Well, they'll be glad when they see the back of this particular stretch of herringbone. It's a steep corner as well, and the snow getting a couple of inches deeper each time they come round the course. Sundby wearing 4, looking so composed. How focused is he? This man desperate to win a major. Iversen just behind Musgrave. Rickardson is there. Harvey, Beloff, Ustiugov, Niskanen, Colonia. Daria Colonia, we haven't mentioned him all day. The Olympic champion in the 15-kilometre, and a man who's took the Olympic title in this event in Sochi back in 2014.
I think Colonia is a serious threat today, and I also think Harvey is a serious threat for a podium. He always is. You get these big names that are always there at major championships, and those names most often are.
Are we going to see some fireworks on either the second climb on this lap or the final lap, Mike? I cannot remember a major where anyone has made a significant break in the classic phase of a skiathlon.
It's been a long time. Of course, we look at the longer distance 50k. We've seen breakaways early there. I really do expect next time round that we will see a significant attack. There's Sundby talking to Muzzy, and they are good friends. They used to race, or they're still racing the same team up in Norway. Muzzy's still taking a lot of power through his arms, as opposed to anyone else, and it looks good right now. Smaller muscle groups, though, you know, that superloads the lactic, but he's powerful.
Jens Sperman just starting to think that Sundby may be onto something here, and he is the man who's gone up into 3rd place, but there is a little bit of a gap back to 4 and 5. How significant, we'll find out by the time we get to the bottom of the hill. I think the bigger group will have closed it up again once they round the corner at the bottom, only to turn around and go back up that climb again.
I love that camera shot at the top, Patrick. You could see that at the high point they were actually higher than the top, the very high point of the ski jump. An indication of how brutal this section is. This is the tougher of the 2 laps. The skating lap 3.75 coming up soon is much, I'd say much easier. It's slightly easier.
Yeah, the good news for the those athletes out there is that the freestyle loop is much more shaded than the classic loop. In the case of the 15k, they're going to be using both, so that's going to be interesting and an absolute nightmare for the technicians. Going past one of the best supported locations on the track, it's another steep climb.
I remember that we used these tracks 34 years ago in the World Championships here, and the spectators were, it sounded like, it felt like deeper, and many more of them around the track back then.
The first major these tracks were used for, although they look nothing like this, was back in 1964 during the Innsbruck Games. I think that was 64.
I think it was.
And they travelled up here. We said 45 minutes from Innsbruck to here. If you get clear roads, it's closer to 20.
It would have been in those days.
In those days, it probably would have been an hour 20.
And then, of course, the Olympics here in 1976 as well. The biathlon, the cross-country, all taking part. The Nordic combined up here.
And of course the last Austrian Nordic World Championships in Ramsau in 1999 before they went to Lahti in 2001. That had a few stories to tell, and my goodness, that had consequences particularly for the Finnish team. It
decimated the Finnish team, and quite rightly. They were playing games to enhance themselves. They were caught out, just by chance they were caught out. And big names that I had so much respect for many years, I lost the respect from at that moment. And the team, they lost the sponsorship, and it's taken a long time for Finland to come back.
Well, one of their excuses was that they realised in Ramsau 2 years ago before that if you weren't using EPO, you weren't going to win anything. Yeah. And they thought if you can't beat them, join them. It was a mistake.
It was a mistake. Yep. History of endurance sports, it's interesting. And actually there's no tougher sport than cross-country skiing or biathlon, where you're using all these muscle groups. And Patrick, so many gear changes. You're in the tuck now, you're loading your quads, all the different gear changes and terrain changes. There are very few sports where you have to keep continually changing gears and techniques and styles in an efficient manner.
Is Iivo Niskanen of Finland getting poised for an attack on the 4th and final round of the classic course. It certainly looks that way at the moment. I think the British technicians will be delighted with the work they've done, because Musgrave has had absolutely no problem staying with the leaders on the downhill sections. Yes, he's skiing intelligently. He's getting out of the tracks to get away from most of the moisture. Sometimes, Mike, when it's a little rougher, you feel as if you're going faster. It's a bit like going for a run at night. You think you're flying, and actually you're going slower than you would in the daytime.
Well, that is so true. You do feel like you're flying when it's going into dusk. Absolutely, you do. Muzzy, for me, is looking... I'm holding back from gushing too much about Muzzy. But for me, and the fact that he was in Livigno for his final preparation training at 1,850 metres, on a, just happily hidden away there, and it's great. You can get your mind composed, no stress from travelling. He's in a good place.
The two strongest classic skiers in the world, or two of the three strongest, are in the top two. And Poltaran in Kazakhstan, he's not far behind either. Those three, if they team up on this last round, could do some real damage. Number 3 starting to make a move. That's Surrota. We haven't mentioned or seen Johannes Husfurt Klæbo recently. He's certainly not in the top 15 at the moment. We'll try and get an update on his position shortly, but it's Niskanen of Finland in pole position. Well, there's been a little development here in Seefeld. Bolshunov has gone to the front and started to turn the mass group into one long file. Even Jean-Marc Gaillard, number 10, starting to struggle a little bit. Salvatore of Italy wearing 22. Ustiugov also off the pace at the moment, not looking as happy or as confident as he did in the first round of the sprint events. And we thought Ustiugov was going to be a main player here today, Mike. He's now some 60, 70 metres behind his teammate Bolshunov, who is doing the damage on this final classic lap.
Bolshunov, he makes this look... Bolshunov makes this look so easy, such strength through his shoulders, his legs, and I love his compression, dynamic compression, so the glide slides efficiently up the hill. Look behind the tempo, soon be much smaller athlete, the tempo is much, much more increased. And Niskanen, similar to Bolshunov, a very efficient, powerful, classic technique.
So Bolshunov leading, Niskanen in 2, Sundby just behind him in 3. Number 14, Dario Colonia, he's got a bit of work to do. Last time we saw he was 4 seconds down. That looks more like, 12, 13 seconds now, as the Russian keeps the pressure on. This is a nasty little herringbone climb. Niskanen looking for some clean snow on the inside. It's also the shorter line, so he'll gain some ground on Bolshunov at the moment. Musgrave's still there, Mike, but a tiny bit of a gap opening up between himself, and I think that must be Surrota just in front of him.
And this is good for the pace, and good of Niskanen to pace share, if you like, realising that they're breaking the field behind them, so Niskanen's deciding to assist Bolshunov with the pace.
Clement Paris is also up in that group, 13th in Pyeongchang. If it keeps going like this, he's almost guaranteed to get in the top 10 here. How significant the gap between where does it appear? Around 11th, 12th position.
Yeah, in fact, now 8th position. They've dropped a few more, so it's only 6.8 seconds to Belov, and then Colonia struggling at 14.7 seconds.
Gaillard is in that second group, Iversen, Harvey, Klæbo is in the second group as well. Spitsov some way off the pace at the moment, nearly 35 seconds behind. We predicted there'd be a major effort on the Classic. Have they left it too late to make a really significant difference?
I don't think so, because they're hurting Klæbo right now. He's back at 17 seconds behind. Yes, he'll pull it back. He can turn the pace up when he wants, but right now he's struggling. Significant change this, and of course they've got the branch back after the very fast, difficult right-hander. It's climbing again after that.
Do you think Niskanen and Bolshunov had a beer last night and discussed how they'd play it? Because, in situations like this, if you can work as a team, then you can be so much more effective.
You can, but, they're so used to racing side by side, all of these top bracket athletes. They know the good guys, And Niskanen knew as soon as Bolshunov went to the front, he needed to be there with them and maybe to assist. Look at the damage it's done. Some of the big, heavy players here. Well, there's Klæbo at the front. Kolonya's a big guy. Iversen struggling. He's a big frame guy, probably the heaviest out there. But you're carrying that weight up that phenomenal climb from the stadium. I think they'll pull it back, though. They're fine.
Well, they'll be looking forward to putting on the shorter skating skis and getting onto some slightly firmer tracks, which are much more protected from the sun than we've seen on this classic leg. Klæbo leading the chase group at the moment. He doesn't seem too eager to push the place and close the gap down. Oh, we've got so close. That's Andreas Katz of Germany, 43, just struggling a little.
Berman, the best of the Swedes. The Swedes historically would have been up at the sharp end. In the men's field, are losing their way a little. And this lead group are absolutely taking the initiative. They know the damage they're creating behind. And you know what? 3 medals into 12, into 8, I should say, feels much better than 3 medals into 25 as it was just 5 minutes ago. So the journey back towards the stadium, and again, it's a continual drag, a tough climb. Muzzy on the right side as we look again, double poling on the icy part of the track. Clever skiing.
Well, I must say I'm slightly surprised to see Kolonya allowing the gap to open. He, of course, won in Val di Fiemme in 2013. He won in the Sochi Olympics 2014 as we watch Bolshunov do yet more damage to the chasers.
Well, the chasers realizing that that's the runaway, and Ustiugov deciding he needs to try and do something to close it.
30.8. Ustiugov very good in the freestyle, such a strong skier. I'm just thinking, Mike, all the tension, all the the aggression that was built up during that sprint day, whether that's starting to get to Ustiugov.
Well, look at him. There's the chase group, who are some, what are we looking, 10 seconds behind, and now Ustiugov's way blown out at the tail end of this chase group. So yes, the stresses and the tension, he was so angry. He could only see himself on the podium. It didn't work out that, and then you're going to get angry when you feel that the gap that you wanted had been closed down.
Now, who's the skier in no man's land at the moment? I think it might be Belov, who's on his own.
It's a brave man to, he put a lot of effort in to break free from the chasing group. This is the chasing group. Klæbo's not wanting to lead it.
Alex Harvey is in there. The Canadian fans will be a little bit concerned about that. Backscheider of France going well. Italy have Salvadori in that chase group. Andreas Katz of Germany, we've mentioned. He's got his teammate Florian Notz in there as well. But the lead group, let's just emphasize that as we come in towards the transition from classic to freestyle. Niskanen, Bolshunov, Sundby, all been up the front at one stage or another. Surota, who's kept quiet but stayed in that leading group. Andy Musgrave, who we've seen a lot of today. He has a fabulous record in this skiathlon event, and of course was a main player in the Olympic Games in Pyeongchang last year. Clément Paris down in 6th place. He's very much in this one, and Alexei Poltaranin just losing ground a little bit.
Well, it's unusual we see such a break. The big chasing group are totally and utterly realizing that they need to close this down and try and close it down quickly.
This leading group should be in and out before the chasers come into the transition area. 7 athletes, all vying for the top spot.
They've got an 11-second lead on the big chase group. Quickly changing the longer cross-country skis with grip wax on them to purely glide waxed up skis. They're stiffer, they're shorter.
Clément Paris, lightning quick. Now that's refreshing to see. The French have made a few historical errors in the transition in the past, but not today. Paris by far and away the quickest in and out of the transition area. Klæbo, no panic needed yet, but there's going to be as good as a 30-second gap between himself and the lead, and that's another couple of seconds thrown away.
Well, what happened there?
Well, he couldn't decide which poles he was going to go with.
At the Olympics, he was the fastest in and out of the pit stop. Today, I think he'll be one of the slowest. I'm wondering, Patrick, with the sprints tomorrow, if it's not going well here today for Klæbo, will the coaches say, the medal isn't there, you may stop? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, I think he's going to have to rely on the work of other people in that chase group to pull them up towards the leaders. So here is your leading group. Delighted to say that Andy Musgrave is still in there wearing 12. He's put a lot of effort into the Classic, but he has never been more than 5 meters off the lead. Surota it is who has the lead at the moment, with Clément Paris just behind him.
That's Polterainen in there, of course, the Classic specialist. It was Belov in no man's land. We should see him looking back down the climb.
Niskanen, Sundby, Polterainen. Well, if we say the winners, the top 3 are coming out of that leading group, Mike, you probably wouldn't include Polterainen in that. Niskanen, you'd think, might fade on the latter stages of this freestyle leg. Bolshinov, you've always said, a little bit stiff when it comes to the freestyle. Therefore, when you get around the 30-kilometer marker, it can be very, very hard work. That only leaves 4 and 3 medals. One of them could be going to Musgrave.
Well, I'd certainly, when you look at his season and you look at the way he manages his classical, this was his weakness, classic skiing. He's there at the sharp end right now. I'm still hopeful, and I've never stopped believing him for the majors to get on that podium. Wouldn't it be fantastic if Muzzy could do that today?
Yeah, it's hard to state just what an incredible job he's done. Yes, he was fortunate in that, you know, his dad worked in Alaska for a few years, so he learned to ski when he was a young lad. But really, he was the one who made the commitment to move to Norway in his late teens. He went to college there. He was the one that joined a Norwegian club because he realized that was the only way you were going to get any good at this sport. So all his success has really come off his own back.
It has. It absolutely, his desire, his dream. He knew he was talented. We saw him at 9, 10, 11, 12 as a youngster, and I think we knew then that this man, this young boy, was very special when it came to physical endurance.
Yeah, it was plainly obvious that he was competitive. He's not afraid of putting his body through a little bit of pain, and if he wants a top 3 today, he's going to have to do it again, but perhaps put it through more pain than he's ever experienced before. Johannes Husvik Klæbo has been left in Musgrave's wake at the moment. Ustiugov at 41 seconds. You would suspect that it is game over for Ustiugov, who the Russians have been saying is in such fantastic shape, but after his knockout in the sprint semi-finals, he's not looking too strong at the moment.
Just looking at pit stop times there, Patrick, we mentioned Klæbo was the fastest at the Olympics. He was 43rd today. He lost 7 seconds on his pit stop.
Polterainen already losing touch with the leading group. And is this a bid for glory, an early bid for glory from Surota, a man who comes from Voss on the west coast of Norway, 30 years old now, so he may feel he's in the same boat as Sundby. If he wants a major title, he's got to get it soon, because age doesn't help when it comes to this sport.
It does not. Surota, he is the man when it comes to endurance. We saw that in Bayeristolen, where he won the 30-kilometer freestyle with apparent ease.
Sundby looking very relaxed at the back of the pack, but is he aware that there's now a 15-meter gap between first and second?
I think he probably is, but we can't 37 minutes the classic stage. Now we're only on 41. All these athletes' legs are still like lead from classic, and it's as if you were doing an opposite triathlon, in that you were running and then going onto your bike. That's what it feels like. Your legs feel so heavy to begin with.
Dario Colonia, Mike, was at 27 seconds at 15k, so he's lost another 5 seconds. So that chasing group aren't making any ground relative to the leaders as we speak.
Klæbo's at 33. He's not making any ground either, and it's very early days, first time around. And Patrick, this track, this profile on the blue loop there is even more climb. There's 572 meters of climb in total on the skating section, as opposed to 480 meters climb on the classic section.
Rota second in the Norwegian Championships skiathlon. That was actually won by Emil Iversen, which is why he's been included in the lineup today. But Iversen way off the pace, 27 seconds going through 15K. I expect that margin is closer to 40 now, and we'll try and see if he can pick up the pace. Røthe Mike didn't even get a race in Pyeongchang last year, so how things have changed in the Norwegian lineup. 14 was Dario Colonia. That's Polteranen on his own, being dropped by the leaders. And now the lead group, Mike, have pretty much got themselves so far ahead that the chase group have lost visual contact with them.
Sure, Røthe looking so efficient, so easy in his movements. And Clement Paris, there's a little bit of movement through his shoulders, but who wouldn't? He's human after all. First time up this steep climb before the descent into the stadium.
Røthe was 37 seconds off the pace in Lahti 2 years ago, finished in 4th place. And what a finish that was, the battle between Ustiugov and Sundby. It's not going to turn out that way today. Let's see how they cope with the downhill. It's going to get tougher every single time they come down.
Still a little icy at the top there, but you can see how wet it's getting on as the sun hits this section now. Then there were 5.
Well, Polteranen has gone. Is it Niskanen who is missing from the group now? I think it is, because Musgrave is there, and Niskanen and Polteranen have both gone. Bolshunov you might expect to be the next, and then there'll be 4 to decide the 3 medals here. Well, what a race. And if you've just joined us on British Eurosport, we are into the second phase of the skiathlon here at the Nordic World Championships. You just got a glimpse of Andrew Musgrave's leg. He is in the leading group. He survived the 15-kilometer classic, and he's looking very strong at the moment. It's that Bolshunov who's just starting to push the pace again as they come to the end of the first freestyle leg. Musgrave has got to work hard. I don't think Bolshunov's push is going to last that long, Mike.
Well, he is the real ultimate fighter, and I think he's just wanting to make sure that there's big separation to the chase pack, who are desperately trying to close this down.
Now, Niskanen lost a lot of ground before coming down the hill, but he's got himself back in the group, and actually now it's Musgrave who's hanging out at the back, Mike. I'm not sure what happened there, whether it was ski speed through the stadium or what.
We must check that out again. Muzzy, maybe just he really pushed hard, and 3rd at the exchange after the classic leg. He made it look easy, I must say. And all these athletes will be going through a tough phase within this first lap of 3.75. Then you get into your rhythm.
Bolshunov leads, Røthe of Norway in 2nd. Sundby, recognising the danger of Bolshunov's drive, has gone into 3rd. Clement Paris of France in 4. Niskanen 5 from Finland, the classic specialist. And Andy Musgrave just 3.2 seconds behind in 6th position. And then we've got a 20-second gap back to Polteranen.
Klæbo has only pulled back 0.3 of a second in the first rotation of 3.75 kilometers. Those maths won't feel good.
Yevgeny Belov not really at the races today. Spitsov hasn't shown his full force either. And it's Bolshunov who is flying the Russian flag, looking to get Russia's 3rd medal at these championships. They got a bronze in the sprint, a bronze in the women's skiathlon. It could be gold in the men's skiathlon. 6 men in the leading group here. Here is the last man to have been dropped from the leaders, Polteranen, who is very much a classic specialist. It was a good effort on the first phase, and I'm afraid first bit of bad news as far as the British are concerned, because Andrew Musgrave looks to be struggling. He's only half a second or so off the back of this group. I'm hoping that he's just choosing a different line because he feels it's faster, but the tempo seems to have dropped a fraction, Mike, and whereas he looked comfortable in the classic, he now looks as though he's fighting to hang on in there.
I think he's getting it back. I think he went through a phase pushing so hard in the classic style, and I think he's going to regroup, recompose himself and get into the flow here. I'm quite sure he will. He has to hold on to this moment. It's so fantastic at the front of the group at the World Championships.
We're on lap 2 of 4 laps of freestyle. The 4 laps of classic have been completed, and Musgrave looking to improve on his finish at the Olympics last year of 7th position. He was only about 30 seconds off the winner, Kruger of Norway, who isn't on good enough form even to win himself a place. And when you see Klæbo, Mike, who's now 37 seconds or so behind, you wonder, surely it would have been better to race Kruger and give Johannes Husvik Klæbo an extra day's rest before the team sprint.
Well, we talked about this last night, and you've got to respect the wisdom of the Norwegian coaches, but I think both of us felt, where is the wisdom in this? Can he win a medal? I didn't think so. I really did not think so.
But our understanding was that if it's a slow race and it becomes tactical right the way through to the last couple of kilometres, then the only man who's going to win it is Klæbo. So why not having him in case the story unfolds that way?
I'm with you, but I would have looked at the story at the Norwegian Championships, where he was at the front for a huge part of that race, but when the pace started punching hard, he couldn't stay with it. He finished, I think, 41 seconds behind them, and he's travelling now below 40 behind, and that's not going to be a good positive feeling for Klæbo right now.
A nice mix of nationalities in that leading group of 6. 2 Norwegians, yes, but we got Finland, Russia, France, and of course Great Britain. And Musgrave is
that looks better.
He's moved up into 3rd again.
I like that.
Which is a nice sign. Might be an indication that the pace has just eased. Once they realise they're 38 seconds clear, it does tend to become a little more tactical.
Well, that's a huge margin at this far into the race. It's incredible, and that's a tough bridge to cross. And Ustiugov, one of the stronger ones, he's finding his rhythm now in freestyle. Look at Klæbo. This is a very tired man.
Ustiugov hasn't lost any ground in the last kilometre and a half, still at 48 seconds, but 48 seconds is a massive, massive margin to give away. And there is your leading group of 6.
You just feel Bolshinov, it's like at the Olympics, the 50-kilometre, he doesn't know how to play tactics. He just goes out and he attacks, and he keeps on attacking. It's not the best place to be at the front all the time. The rest of the chasers, they know that.
Paris for France, Mike, wearing 13. Do you think it's going to be lucky for him as they start the big climb for the 2nd time?
I think I think he looked tired first time up here, but again, if you're in this section, this part of the race, at this stage in the race, 51 minutes gone, you're in new territory. You realise you have to stay with this to have a chance for one of these 3 precious medals. Bolshinov is looking so strong, so composed.
Well, the odds on Musgrave getting a podium finish was something like 40 to 1. Might suggest the bookies hadn't done too much research, because here he is sitting in a group of 6, and it's almost certain now that the medals are going to 3 of these 6 men.
Well done, Muzzy, looking good. He needs to get in behind Bolshinov. It's still got a little tricky on the shoulder of this descent. They'll look back now and think, well, it's better than it was last time down this hill, the distance to the chase group.
Here's the tricky downhill, and you can see how the skis slip and slide. There's no metal edge on a cross-country ski, so when it's icy, you just have to angle the ski and keep your fingers crossed. Bolshinov negotiates it well, importantly staying as low as he can. Musgrave in 2nd. We've got Clément Paris of France in 3rd. Then 2 Norwegians in 4 and 5. And Niskanen once again off the back of the pack as they come down the hill. But what happened last time, Mike, is he closed all that distance up.
Oh, it's quite amazing. There's a little stumble from Bolshinov. Muzzy not stressing, keeping such smooth, efficient movements. All the time, Muzzy keeping as efficient as he can in this world of pain.
Clément Paris, I think, recognising a little bit of danger at the moment as the red suit of Bolshinov makes a break on the climb. He's got 2 more laps to go, another 7,500 metres to ski. They'll cover each kilometre at under 2.5 minutes per K. And so we're getting towards crunch time.
Muzzy, that's a bad indicator for me. I know Bolshinov is doing massive turn of pace. Here's a man that may not finish, but Bolshinov, massive turn of pace, and it put Muzzy from 2nd to 6th. I think the coaches will pull that card and say, rest up. Although it's a world champs, you don't put your athlete in there to make it easy and say, you're not having a good day, pull out. Probably won't happen.
The winning time 2 years ago in Lahti, 1 hour, 9 minutes and 16 seconds. That was, of course, Ustiakov. Is it going to be another Russian success with Bolshunov? He goes through. It's only a 1.8 second lead. Which of the two Norwegians do you feel has the better body language at the moment? Is it Rota or is it Sundby?
Rota for me. He's well accomplished at the distance. They're very similar athletes, to be honest, but for me, he looked lighter, he looked easier. But Sundby knows the size of this moment in his life as well, in his career, where he hasn't had an individual gold medal at World Championships.
Backscheider of France, just behind him, Alex Harvey of Canada. Musgrave has dropped to 5.6 behind the leaders at 22.5. That's a little bit concerning. Niskanen just ahead of him. Similar scenario to last time, Mike. Niskanen seems to be very quick through the stadium, so I'm assuming he's got a good pair of skis on his hands, just not quite as quick on the steep uphill, and that may be crucial come the final lap.
It may be crucial, and of course 572 meters in the freestyle, huge climbing. Ustiakov is trying hard to close the gap. It's not always working. 2
years on, and he's not the same beast as he was in Lahti, where he was in an epic battle with Martin Jonsrud Sundby all the way through the last 7-8 kilometers of the skiathlon. So Bolshunov leads, Rota of Norway in second, Sundby of Norway in third. Then Clement Paris, and Musgrave has been dropped from the leading group. Welcome back to Seefeld. Bad news, sad news if you're a British skier fan, because Andy Musgrave is losing time. We both feel that the skis are not serving him well on the flatter and the downhill sections of the course. He's holding his own on the uphills, but every time he comes through the stadium, losing 5 or 6 seconds, and suddenly a group of 5 is getting away. So 3 into 5 sounds healthy if you're Norwegian, because you've got 2 men in that leading group. Bolshunov of Russia has been setting the pace now, Mike, for over 8 kilometers. Surely someone would say, give yourself a rest, because it's the finish that counts. It's not the previous 7 laps.
He must know that in his mind, Bolshunov, that it's not an advantage to be leading all the way. It's an easier ride tucked in behind someone. Of course it is, traveling at average, 27 kilometers an hour.
Niskanen, the big surprise in that group of 5?
But I must say, Niskanen, for me, I know he's historically not been the best in terms of freestyle, but looking much improved. I know he put many hours on roller skis in the summer and on glaciers to improve his freestyle. It seems to have worked.
Who's the next to go? Will it be Clement Paris? Will it be Niskanen? Will it be Bolshunov, having done so much of the work for the last 25 minutes?
I don't think he's the sprinter in the pack, is he? So he's setting himself up to be attacked without a doubt from behind. Muzzy, if it is his skis, and we certainly felt they weren't as fast through this on the descent, and if they're not as fast on the descent, every time you compress through them, you're working marginally harder, because they're not gliding as fast on the uphills either.
Well, there's the margin.
It's tactical up the front. Muzzy could still rejoin this if it becomes more tactical.
He's in a world of pain at the moment, and you can see how the shoulders just tightening a little. Devin Kershaw always commenting it's all about keeping the shoulders low. What he means is you just don't want any extra tension in the body, and once those, once the muscles in the neck are tight, everything, the timing goes. You don't breathe as easy. It affects so many aspects of your skiing.
It does, and relaxation is so vital. Mentioned earlier all the variations of a cross-country skier: tucking, double poling, skate 1, skate 2, all these gear changes all the time. It's a lot of energy, and they're sucking in. There's no expressions on most of their faces, but they're sucking in 240 litres of air, oxygen, every minute. It's incredible.
In terms of sprinters, Mike, Reuter's had some good results. Clement Paris has had some good results. Sundby, we know, has lost so many titles because he's not quick over the last 150 metres. So where does Sundby make his break if he wants to win this one?
I really believe, and I was just thinking about that, what is the key to win that gold medal? And I think he has to go from 1 lap out or certainly on the last lap early. He has to brake, he has to take the pain, and I think he's been very economical throughout all of this freestyle section, maybe building up for that explosion. It won't be like a sprint, it'll be a sustained, incredibly painful increase of pace.
And if he leaves it to this point on the final lap, too many of these men will feel they can stay with him on this climb. I know it's a brutal climb, but they'll know that if they get to the top and they're level with Sundby, they have the beating of him.
I think so. I think nearly all of them, maybe not Niskanen, but Sundby knows that. He's not a finisher. He doesn't have that dynamic final turn of pace that you need to win this race.
Bolshunov looking a little tired for the first time. Rutte and Sundby skiing very, very smoothly as they come to the top of the sprint hill for the penultimate time. They'll be thinking about the final time right now. What will they do if they're in a group of 5? Are we going to see the leading 5 come to a complete standstill before they descend into the stadium?
They're doing it this time.
Again, Bolshunov happy to lead it out. I think Bolshunov's on a good pair of skis, Mike.
He is, he definitely is. We saw that. He'll then try and push the pace up around the climb after the stadium.
Niskanen and Sundby look the most comfortable on that left-hand turn.
Let's have a look at the glide. So yeah, Bolshunov has good skis.
And then those at the back will close up as they come in front of the commentary positions and in front of the tribune, left and right. Up goes the cheer. There are plenty of Norwegian flags. That's a bit of an understatement, actually. Probably 80% of the flags opposite our position are Norwegian, but the Russians are there in numbers, so are the French. And of course, Niskanen will have his followers here as well. He's done exceptionally well to stay with the pace.
I think Bolshunov will fancy his chances next time round. This is what, a couple of 100 meters from the finish line. He's always strong in this section. He's been testing it out. Is he going to lead for any longer? Somebody needs to, I was going to say someone needs to give him a break, but they're very happy that he's breaking through the air here at 27 kilometers an hour.
Coming up to the 26.25 kilometer marker. They have 3.75 kilometers to go. Less than 10 minutes of skiing to decide the first distance gold medal in the men's program here at the Nordic World Championships. It's going to Russia, Norway, France or Finland. And at the moment it's Russia who lead, but that's 3 laps that Bolshunov has done out front. Rutte stuck behind him. Hasn't skied in sync with Bolshunov, which is slightly surprising because that allows you to get an extra half meter closer. And the lone figure coming through the bell at the moment is Andy Musgrave of Great Britain. If he stays in 6th, it will be 1 place better than he finished in Pyeongchang a year ago in the Olympic Games. It's still an unbelievable achievement for Musgrave, but I can't help thinking that the skis have let him down on this second phase.
That's my thinking as well, and that's a real shame. You can't match these lads at the front if you don't have equal glide factor. I know it's very difficult in warm conditions.
The other explanation, Mike, might be that Musgrave did a little bit too much work with the arms on the classic phase. He
did punch hard on that classic phase. He outperformed expectations and made it look easy. The news further back. Klæbo is 2 minutes 20 behind in 23rd position.
Yeah, he's wound it up, saving himself for tomorrow. Back with the leading group. And still Bolshunov in front. Paris, is he going to get France a medal? That would be a fantastic occasion. And Vincent Vito, one of the outstanding athletes in French cross-country skiing, actually now coaching in biathlon, and what a difference he's made to their performances.
He certainly has. Vito is he knows how it works, and the training, especially uphill freestyle training, the French are big on that, and that's in these races 50% of your time during this 30-kilometer race, time-wise, is climbing. Of course, the descents are so fast, they're over in moments.
No Maurice Magnificat racing for France today. He's been one of their best skiathlon athletes over the years, but saving himself for other events. As we look at Niskanen at the back of the 5, has he managed to mastermind a way to get himself on the podium today? I think worth bearing in mind, Mike, that Sundby has not been off the podium in a skiathlon since 2012, and that includes all the majors, and we don't have that many skiathlons throughout the year.
We don't. He is the master of endurance, Sundby, but not the finisher, not the sharpest finisher. Yes, he's had second in this race a number of times. I've got a feeling this pace with less than 3 kilometers to go, it's got to change very soon. Somebody's going to try and break free.
2.5 to go. Sundby checks left and checks right. He's looked very, very fluent. He is the master technician on the skating skis, having been pretty awful in his early career. Virtually took a year out to rebuild his skating style, and what a difference that made.
It certainly has. For me, it's still Shure Rota who is going to try and break free. He just looks efficient, and I think he's ready to pounce.
It's quite difficult to make your break on the penultimate climb, Mike, because you know if it fails, you're not going to finish on the podium at all. If you leave it to the final climb and it doesn't quite work, you might still have a crack at a top 3.
Absolutely. Shure Rota's lining up, I think, for an explosion of pace.
Niskanen is on the best pair of skis he will have had for many, many years. He keeps losing ground on the uphill, but by the time they get down again, he's back in touch. And that could be so, so important come the final stages.
2 kilometers to go, Patrick, just over 2 kilometers. They all know that. So they know that 5 into 3 doesn't work. So somebody's going to pace change soon.
Clement Paris's timing looks to be going just a fraction, Mike. The leg and arms not working together as they should do. Maybe just a temporary loss of balance, but again, that indicates that fatigue is starting to set in, as so it should do after 28 kilometers in these conditions. Russia, Norway, France, the leading 4, and Niskanen back in 5th, where he's been for a long, long while.
He knows he's got good skis. He might be thinking, I've still got a chance when it comes to the fast descent into the stadium. They're going to pace off now before the final. It's going to be Cologna's hill from last year, where the turn of pace has to go.
Now, if they're all together at the top of the last big climb and they come to a grinding halt, who is going to crack and go first? I think Bolshunov's not going to hang around. It was Chanavar of France who committed himself in the sprint, and it cost him a medal. Will Clement Paris follow suit, or do you think he will have had a stern word from the coaches this morning? If you're up there on the top of that hill, do not go first.
They all know how it works at the top of that rise, but I think Bolshunov might... no one's gone yet. Bolshunov might well try and lead it up there, and he'll just crack on over the top. He won't hang around. Still Shure Rota for me. He's going to explode up this climb.
1,500 meters to go, the distance of the sprint event, and suddenly the tempo rises, and Niskanen makes a move using those wonderful skis yet again. He goes from 5th up into 3rd position, but as soon as the climbing starts, he drops back again.
Tired bodies, Patrick, with an hour and 7 on the clock in these hot conditions. This is where accidents can happen. Ski poles could be broken.
Sundby still looking relaxed, but it's Bolshunov who leads, and this is where the climbing starts. It's a long, long climb, 1:20 of ascent, and they've been on it for 20 seconds already. Bolshunov ahead of Rota, who's been glued to the Russian for the last 7-8 kilometers. Sundby looking for a little bit of space on the left-hand side, and he's got a good turn of pace. Will Bolshunov respond? Of course he will. He dances his way to the top, and suddenly there's a gap between 3 and 4.
Oh, spicy. Shure Rota hasn't got the power. He's looking back. That's a bad indicator. Sundby looking back as well. We've broken free. There's the medals.
Sundby trying to do what Dario Cologna did 12 months ago here in Seefeld in the pre-World Championship World Cup, and it's working, but is the gap big enough? We know that Bolshunov's on a good pair of skis. Sundby, who has never won a major gold medal in an individual event, he's got 13 meters over Russia's Bolshunov, but he is not moving well. They're all suffering. This next downhill could be absolutely critical.
Incredible. Sundby knew so well this is his final big chance for a gold medal, an individual gold medal at a major, and he's not going to let it go easily.
Still, he has 12 metres. He hugs the inside line. 150 metres in front of the tribune, and then he breaks to his right for the final ascent. Can he dance his way to the top of that and get a famous gold medal? There will be many, many thousand Norwegians wanting him to succeed. He looks to the left and he can see the huge screen. He can see the imposing figure of Bolsjunov closing in on him behind. He's got to go again. He has to find some reserves from somewhere.
Oh, Bolsjunov is going to attack if he's got anything left after leading for all of this skating track. Bolsjunov, for me, is going to attack. Sure, Rota tried earlier. He didn't really have it.
Here comes Rota. He's moved to his left. He's looking for space. He switches to skate 1 and he dances his way into acceleration. It's Norway 1 and 2 at the moment. Still no real impression from Bolsjunov, who's sitting in third now for Russia. It's Sundby who rounds the top corner first. Will it be Sundby, Rota, Bolsjunov? It's still Sundby, who's had such a successful career without an individual goal to take home.
Sure, Rota knows that his teammate is not the fastest finisher. I think that will give Sure Rota some life, some spirit, some belief.
And the free skate from Rota is stronger. And now Bolsjunov moves up on Sundsby's left. And he's going to finish down in third yet again. But Bolsjunov's got a strong finish. Oh, the lunge from Rota is appallingly timed, but he's got it by 1/10 of a second. He stayed quiet for the last 7.5 kilometers. It has paid dividends. He was glued to Bolsjunov for the majority of that race. And you have to feel for the Russian. He did so much of the donkey work. He didn't have to. He didn't have to. He knows that. We know that. And Rota is the man that benefits.
Incredible. Bolsjunov, the grittiest man out there. He doesn't know strategy, or he just knows how to push hard, but it doesn't always win races. Sure, Rota, he was clever. He didn't want to go on that first steep one. He knew he had to survive 10 metres. And he just had a hope. He did the wide work, going all the way left on the final climb. And poor old Bolsjunov, 1/10 of a second.
The first silver medal for Russia, but the 4th gold medal for Norway.
Alex Harvey just hoovering up Muzzy at the end. For Muzzy to finish the same as he did at the Olympics, 7th position.
Yeah, 30 seconds further back. Be interesting to have a chat with Musgrave afterwards. Still a fantastic performance to get in the top 7, and he's got a brilliant record in this event. He's taken Ustiakov to the cleaners. That takes some doing. Jens Berman of Sweden down in 10. He featured early on in the race, but from the halfway stage, Mike, it was all about 6 men. And you have to say Bolsjunov put in a very, very brave fight. But there was no really positive effort to get away.
No, he didn't get any pace. I mean, they knew that they were completely destroying the chasing group down to 48 seconds. They knew that what Bolsjunov was doing was an incredible pace. And that's why the other 5, didn't want to get involved. They couldn't lead any faster. And Bolsjunov played a huge part in that breakaway that was untouchable.
Dario Colonia disappointed. He was 6th in the Olympics, 14th today. But don't forget that he won the Olympics back in 2014. 26 coming in for Sweden. That's, in fact, it was 25. Oskar Svensson just finishing for Sweden. We've got Rickardson there as well. Savadori of Italy, 2:18. And Belov of Russia, 2:21 behind. And a sorry-looking figure, Johannes Husfer-Klæbo. Why waste energy when you've got more races to come? He's here for the medals. It didn't happen today. I'm still convinced he was in it in case it turned out to be a slow race. But it was never, ever going to be slow, was it?
It wasn't. Very nice there to see Ustiakov absolutely handshaking and congratulating the winners. Iversen and Klæbo, we saw them there, staggering around the track to the finish. Will they be the sprint team tomorrow?
Well, they've probably had a chat and decided between them that they need to save the fast twitch fibres for the team sprint. And the team sprint's a tough one, Mike. It's like an interval session more than a sprint race.
But the day after this, Patrick, it's superhuman to then be asked again to punch around these tracks at maximum 3 times, 1.6 kilometre.
Well, you have to applaud the selectors, and Rutte has already been given Ustiagov's race bib from last year, as he is now the new world champion. That's a nice touch from Ustiagov, and I think even the Russians realizing that his behavior at the end of the sprint was somewhat out of order. This is how close it was after 30,000 meters of racing, over an hour and 8 minutes on the clock. Rutte gets it by less than half a ski length. Poor old Sumbi.
I was
third
thinking
again.
the same thing. He was leading with 150 to go.
You said, Mike, if he leaves it till the last big climb, it will be too late. You're absolutely right. He needed 20 meters, and if he'd gone earlier on the big climb, it might have paid dividends, but he needed 25, 30 meters coming down into the stadium.
And that's where I thought the only way on this chessboard was for him to go earlier. I know maybe he didn't have the pace, but if he wanted that gold, he had to put everything into breaking them earlier.
Here's the fastest skier on the planet, Johannes Husflut-Klæbo, reduced to a lowly 30th position. It doesn't matter. It's tactical. He has saved himself for the team sprint, and we're hoping he's included because the team sprint in Lahti 2 years ago was one of the great spectacles of cross-country skiing.
It was. I'm just wondering what Kruger is thinking right now. The Olympic champion came fourth at the Norwegian Championships, 1.4 seconds behind. He's fantastic in classic. He's fantastic in freestyle. You know, I mean, it's over. They made their selection, but he must be feeling a little bit sad today that he wasn't in this lineup.
Well, there might be space in the Dutch team if he feels that badly about it. There have been a few transfers over the years. A sad-looking Bolshinov. A tactical coach might help.
Well, you would have thought Marcus Kramer had discussed strategy. I thought we'd see the red suits up the front for longer. Then it remained only one big strong red suit at the front. He didn't have strategy. He just took all the punch at the front, it's hard work. If you're leading for 14.9 of the 15 kilometers in freestyle and a whole lot of the classic style, you've had a tough day. It's incredible. He is incredible, and strategy in there, he'd be even more incredible.
I know you like a leader, but it is about who wins and who loses. And if you lead the majority of the way, you're more likely to lose.
Definitely are, and 1/10 of a second. It's incredible that he did so well, taking second place, having led so much of the race.
Sprinting it out for 42, 43, Velichko just getting the better of Clay of Switzerland. Tritcher of Austria, he's a long way down, 6:16, not the sort of performance the host nation were expecting today. Tough work out there today, Mike. Blazing hot sunshine after the miserable weather of yesterday. The tracks are soft as we've seen, the going is hard, and I'm just wondering, those who race today, can they possibly recover for a sprint event tomorrow?
Well, I know that Klæbo and Iversen backed off eventually. You know, it's certainly only in the last 8Ks they really backed off, but they put in such a vicious 15, 18, 20 kilometers. It's a tough task. You will feel it tomorrow without a doubt. 3 times around the sprint course, their sting will not be as vicious as it could have been.
And I know in the Olympics they race the same events as well, but the Olympic program is spread out a little bit more than the World Championship program. 24 hours to recover from a brutal race. I think this is probably the hardest race they've done all season so far in these conditions. Rutte is the champion, only second in the Norwegian Championships, but he's walking away from Seefeld with a World Championship gold medal. Well done to him.
Norwegian victory also here in the 30K skiathlon, first and third, Alexander Bolsjunov number 2, and I mean Rutte from Voss, the famous small city outside Bergen, with athletes like Eirik Kvalfoss, biathlon Olympic champion, Kari Tromogos Olympic champion, and now they have Rutte, his first ever individual gold medal in the championship, Devon.
Oh, what a phenomenal race by Sjur. I have goosebumps. He's a good friend, and he played this absolutely tactically perfect. He was the fastest in that group that escaped, and that he could cross the finish line with a gold medal around his neck after all the struggles he had. Remember, Karsten, not at World Championships, not at the Olympics last year, and now world champion.
And the look he gave Bolshunov just before he crossed the finish line, it was like, I know you're coming after me, but I'm the strongest.
Yeah,
Look at that.
Oh, yeah,
look.
like when we look on the screen here, he's just going so fast, but at the end of the day, that's playing with fire a little bit for me. I was pretty nervous to see that, but you know what? He was the fastest in that group. He knew he was the fastest in that group, and he did win, but woo-hoo, 0.1, that's not much.
Okay, let's go through the key moments. We're waiting for some interviews here at the mixed zone in Seefeld. Just take us through the key moments, Devin.
Yeah, well, the key moments started when Bolshunov and Niskanen are drilling the classic. You see this. They're the ones that make this selection. They're the ones that make this selection for the race. Then, when we get into the skate part, you got to tip your hat to Bolshunov. He drilled it the whole way. He was on the front of this group, making sure the likes of Ustiugov doesn't get back. And here, Sundby tries. It's too little, too late. He tries on the hill. He tries to pull a Dario Colonia from last year, but look at the gap here. Not enough. It's just not enough distance, and we've seen this over and over. 13, 15 meters, not enough. Coming down into the finish here, you see they're coming. Shuratha swallows Sundby up like we knew he would. He's the fastest, opens his sprint, some great free skating here by Shud, and then into his final sprint. But look at Bolshunov coming. He is coming so fast, but maybe he did a little too much work or waited a little too late, because at the end of the day, Shuratha wins by a toe.
Do you feel a bit sorry for Sundby? Because he's still looking for that one individual gold medal in any championship. He hasn't had it yet.
Of course I feel sorry for Martin Jonsrud Sundby. He doesn't have a championship gold, and he's been the real boss of cross-country skiing for a long, long time. The reality is today, he should have gone a few hills early. Waiting for that last hill like that, and then waiting. He didn't even hit it from the bottom like Dario did last year. He waited halfway up that sprint hill, and when you wait that long, 15 meters is not gonna pay the bills. You need more. He didn't have enough, and now Shuratha is world champ.
If you can look at the pictures again from the last hill, because one thing that struck me was when it tries to attack, and suddenly, like halfway through, it kind of gives up because it looks behind, like he doesn't have more power.
You know what? Look at his face here. He looks behind. He's like, oh no, I don't have enough gap. But at this point, you're committed. You've got to just try. You've got to try. Look at his legs. They're absolutely lead. They're lead. But Bolshunov's looking hurting. Sorry, Bolshunov is hurting too, but at the end of the day, you see here, Carsten, he rounds the corner. It's not enough. It's not enough. We've seen this so many times now, and the writing was on the wall. If you were betting, I mean, you get your bets in early at the top of that hill, because 15 meters it's not enough.
And also for the big favorites earlier today, that was you had, of course, then Ustiugov. You had you mentioned Klæbo. You didn't have on the podium, but Harvey was an outsider. What happened to those guys?
You know what? Alex got caught out in that big move by Niskanen and Bolshunov in the Classic. I mean, they were just going so hard, and Alex just didn't have the power in the Classic, unfortunately. Klæbo, it's a big day. We were talking about that the other day after the sprint. You know how long it is now after seeing it. Such a long time. The victory ceremony, all the interviews, everything took a little bit out of Klæbo. And when Niskanen and Bolshunov are just drilling it like they're doing, and if you're not 10 out of 10 on all systems firing, you're going to get dropped. He got dropped. I personally think he shut it down. There's no question this is not all out. Look at the, like, he shut it down. He has a team sprint tomorrow. He needs his energy.
All right, 4 gold medals to Norway after 4 events in the cross-country skiing.
Yeah, I'm a little...
It's a superpower.
Yeah, no, it's so dominant. This is not just so dominant. I mean, they had 2 on the podium, 1st and 2nd earlier today in the women's competition, and now 1st and 3rd. This is a beatdown. So, you know, the boys in the truck will be playing simply the best. We've heard that every single championship. Tina Turner blasting loud, and they have every right to do that.
All right, let's listen for the world champion, Shuratha.
The world champion in skiathlon here in Seefeld, and you really had to fight for it.
Yeah, it was a really hard fight. The classic part was kind of tough with Bolshunov and Niskan, who set a great pace, and but I felt really good, and I think I had my best skis in the whole life today, both classic and skating. So it was. I was just waiting for the finish that I have prepared.
Yes, but it was still you who had to go for it, and also alternating the lead a little bit. How was it out there on the track?
In the classic part, it was kind of soft, so it was for a few guys hard to get a good grip. So, but I think the Norwegians had great classic skis, and the guys in the wax cabin has done an amazing job. So yeah, it was really fun.
Congratulations, world champ.
Thanks.
That was the champion here in Seefeld. Now we see a picture of Jonas and Alexander in Berg Isel. It's a beautiful day in Seefeld and also a beautiful day in Innsbruck. Jonas, do some long jumps.
Indeed it is, and after a day yesterday with a little bit windy and shifting conditions, we are anticipating to see if anyone can beat the Norwegians here in the World Championships. And it's wide open, Alex.
Yes, it's quite open. Maybe Japan, maybe Germany, maybe Poland, or maybe Austria.
And we also have a Swiss outsider and perhaps the Norwegians. We'll see when we're back in a couple of minutes. Don't miss it.
Well, that's all from Seefeld for now. We will be back tomorrow with the team sprints. Hope you can join us for that. Goodbye.